Shelly in Atlanta. What's up, Shelly?
Yeah, I rhyme with jelly. That's awesome.
We're not even going there. We're not. But Shelly does rhyme with Kelly, but you already sound kinder than Kelly. So what's up?
All right. So last summer, I was told that I am arrogant. And that was kind of a shock to me because
you may be more like Kelly than we thought. So go ahead.
So I tend to have problems with self-loathing and perfectionism. I hope Kelly does not have that problem.
No, she doesn't have a problem with it. She just knows that she is perfect. So that's good.
So my negative automatic conclusion was, oh no, I'm not hating myself enough or I wouldn't look arrogant.
Exact. Way to go. Way to go.
And I know that's not a healthy way to think about it, but it's kind of been eating me alive ever since then.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be arrogant, and that's the last thing I ever thought I was. I tend to really not think I'm better than other people.
Wow. So who told you this?
So it was a work supervisor.
Okay.
I recently came out of an abusive marriage and went to interview for a new job in a new place. And I understood that, you know, when you do a job interview, you're supposed to sell yourself and, you know, sort of exaggerate how good you are. And
I wouldn't say exaggerated, but you just tell you those are one of the few moments in our culture where we're allowed to talk about ourselves positively, which is lame, but that's where we got. So did you oversell yourself, or did you think you did a great job?
I felt like I did a good job. I thought I played the interview game well, and I got the job.
Mm-hmm.
But the supervisor later was like, you know, you're kind of arrogant.
Based on that interview or based on how you come into work every day and how they experience you? And here's what I'm getting at. Two important things when somebody says something like that to you. One is, do they have credibility to speak into your life?
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't, then just like Jay-Z, you got to brush your shoulders off and you got to move on from that. I mean, there's going to be critics everywhere. That's life. If it's somebody that either you need them to experience you in the right way, someone you love, your spouse, your parents, whatever, or your supervisor that your livelihood depends on them being in relationship with you, then that's a little bit more important. And so there has to have been a series of behaviors, of actions that they experienced. What were they?
Well, so it was literally just based on the interview, because I am a sign language interpreter. So I often work by myself or only with people sometimes. It's not like I see this person every day or anything like that. So it was really just based on the interview.
Oh, can I ask? I
thought I was a better interpreter than everybody else.
Are you?
No, and I know that, and I don't think that.
So, I am going to just shine my ignorance brightly, okay?
Okay, sure.
Can you be arrogant in sign language? Obviously, your words are, but can you come across that way?
Yes, although the interview was in English.
Okay, so, something else is going on here, because that one comment has caused you to spiral out for a year. Is that the first time somebody's told you that? Or are you really thin-skinned? Like, what is it about that comment?
I think that it really took me by surprise.
Okay.
And, you know, it also came on the heels of my husband leaving me because I'm a Christian and he became an atheist.
Okay.
And there was abuse going on.
So did your husband, does this have ghosts of your relationship with your husband telling you things about you that you need to change, you need to fix, that he doesn't like about you, that reasons that you're broken? Criticism. I mean, I'm just trying, I'm fishing here.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, he would tell me things like, you're just good at making people feel sorry for you. I don't think he thought I was arrogant. He
Okay.
saw me go into self-loathing a lot. But I think it just hit on like that I'm a recovering perfectionist,
Okay.
and that anytime someone says something about me, I tend to think it must be right.
Okay.
And I have grown up as kind of the good child of the family, and there were others of my generation that thought I was stuck up or arrogant because I was obedient.
Okay, so this is a lifelong thing. Somebody rang one of your bells. So here's something that happened to me several years ago, a few universities back where I worked. I applied for a job that I thought I was a shoo-in, or at least for a finalist position, and I didn't get an interview, which in my situation was a move. It was a statement. Like we're not even going to talk to you about this. And so I asked, like, man, I'm missing something. And I thought I did good work. I thought I was a good guy. And so a buddy of mine said, man, I'll ask around. And then he called and said, hey, you want to go to lunch? It's my buddy Mark. He called and said, hey, you want to go to lunch? I said, yeah. And he said, I'm going to be honest with you. Here's what I heard. And what came back was devastating to me. And here's why. I'm uncomfortable in certain academic settings. I've always struggled with whether you're smart enough. That's why I keep going to grad school to prove myself to myself. It's ridiculous, but that's me. And I feel uncomfortable around really smart people because I'm intimidated by. I like being around them so much, and I love good engagement. But I don't always fit at in those tables, and I'm uncomfortable in banquety kind of situations. I love them when I'm there. But this takes a season to get it. I got to gear up for it. And so what I often do is I spend a lot of time in the back of those rooms sitting with the students, or sitting with the police officers, the security officers, or sitting with the custodial staff. That's how I grew up. My dad was a police officer. My dad would work custodial stuff on the weekends. Like it's just who I grew up. And the feedback came back was, you're a slick politician. That you walk around the room and you glad hand everybody, and you always spend your time trying to look like you're with these people. And it was the exact opposite of what I was trying to do, because I wasn't trying to do anything other than be comfortable. But the feedback was good. And so I had to make a decision. Number one, am I going to stop being comfortable in my professional life? The answer is no. Number two, is there some things that I took from that feedback? Like, hey, here's how you come across. Absolutely. And he was right. He was absolutely right. When he explained how I walk into a room, I was like, oh my gosh, that guy looks like an idiot. And he's like, well, that guy's you. And so I took some wisdom from that. Here's what I think about self-loathing. I think self-loathing can be hitting the pendulum so far the other way that you end up in the exact same place, just on the other side of the spectrum. You know what I mean? Like, I want to follow the rules. I want to be a perfectionist. Hey, you missed a rule here. Whoa, I must be the worst person ever, which is the same thing as I must be the best person ever, just on the other side of it. It's just living in these dramatic swings. And you labeled yourself a bunch in this call. And you live by these labels. And I want to see you live a life free of labels. Like, Shelly, what do you want? What do you want in your world?
What do I want?
Yeah, what do you want? You get one. How old are you?
30.
30. So you're 33% done. 33%, you're 33% done. And in some statistical models, you're about halfway. You're almost halfway done, depending. So I like to just go on the long end of that tail. You only get one of these. One. And it's tiny, and it's quick, and it's precious. What do you want to do with it?
I mean, I would like to make a difference in people's lives.
That's external. That's you fishing. What do you want?
To be happy and accepted, I guess.
To be loved? Who told you couldn't be loved besides your ex-husband?
Probably myself.
Yes.
Like, that I can't be loved if people think I'm arrogant, or if people think something about me that's not true, it automatically is true because they thought it.
So here's what I want you to do. When somebody drops that brick in your backpack, someone tells you something about you. You're not pretty enough. You're too big. You're too skinny. You're too this. You're too Jesus-y. You're not Jesus-y enough. You swear too much. You're such a goody-goody with your language. Whatever it is, you're arrogant because of an interview where you told everybody, you flexed a little bit. Good for you. You told everybody I'm a incredible sign language doer. I don't know how you say that.
Interpreter.
Interpreter. There you go. I can rock it onto the break of dawn when it comes to sign language. Everybody better recognize and get in line behind Shelly Jelly, and they said, hey, you came across as arrogant. Here's what I want you to do. Keep a small journal. Go to Walmart or Target, or if you're an overbuyer, overbuy it. And have a small journal, and it's just your story journal, and carry it with you everywhere. I have a small one in my bag right now. And when somebody says, dude, you're arrogant, or you're a jerk, or you are fill in the blank, or when those thoughts pop in your head about you, I want you just to write it down and extend it out arm's length physically and ask yourself, is this true? And if it's not, you have to then decide, I'm going to stop dwelling on it. You don't make that decision. You let your mind control you. And I want you to take back control of your thoughts.
So how do I know if I'm arrogant?
Are you?
I mean, I have begun to value myself, and I don't know if valuing myself is arrogant.
Do you have somebody that you trust? Do you have a friend, a community?
Some, yeah.
Ask them.
So I did ask my sister.
What'd she say?
And she said, I know that you have some insecurities, and so I know where that comes from. It can look arrogant, but I know, like, in your heart, it's not.
So when she says look arrogant, what are the things that look arrogant?
Like,
are you mean to people? Do you cut in a line? Do you say, oh my gosh, I'm so much better than you. Look at my body compared to yours. My bag is nicer than your bag. I mean, here's the challenge. These thoughts swirl around and they're hard to grab onto, and they spin faster and faster. And then you start looking for confirmation of them everywhere, and you'll find it. And somebody will look at you a little bit weird, and you'll go, oh, it's because I'm arrogant. Or somebody will say, oh, excuse me, ma'am. And you'll go, oh, they think I'm arrogant. You'll see it everywhere. And that's why I want you to write it down and get some distance from it, and then begin to pull it apart. What are the things? Is it how I stand? Is it how I am rude? Do I talk sharp with people? Does my voice get loud? What are the details of this thing that we can work on? Mine was I walked in and shook hands in a particular order throughout a room. I looked exactly like a slick politician, and it grossed me out. So one of the things I stopped doing was shaking hands. I just stopped shaking hands, and I walked by and I'd look people in the eye and say, dude, what is up? And I stopped trying to be a professional engager, and I just started being a human engager. And it literally went away. And so there was some behavior things that I could fix. I didn't change who I hung out with in a room. I didn't change how I honored the president that was in that room and the custodial staff in that room. All that stayed the same, but I did stop going from person to person and shaking hands and nodding my head like a TV politician. And so there were some actual things I could do that were different. That's what I'm asking you. What are the things people point to?
I don't think they've really pointed to anything, just maybe the way I talk.
That's a thing. That's a thing. That's an action. Yes. Okay, so the way you talk.
So, in the interview, I would say things like, I think they talked about how they're so busy and don't have enough people to handle it. And I was like, so y'all need me. Or, they were like, I told them some of the experience that I had that was not expected, that they wouldn't have thought I had that experience as a young interpreter. And they took that to mean that I was arrogant.
Gotcha. Well, so here's the deal. You can't control what they think. You control how you live. And so from this point forward, when you hang up the phone here, if you're not an arrogant person, we're done with the conversation. And begin being conscious about kindness and leaning into people. Now that you've got this job, love people. And by the way, if they need you, say it. I mean, you see what I'm saying? Like, I don't hear anything arrogant here. I hear somebody who is so incredibly tied to what the words that come out of other people's mouths for her own security that you will just spin and flip and flop and do whatever it takes for the next person in front of you to value you. And what I want you to do is to get past all of that and you begin to value you. And then you speak your truth out loud. And there will be certain people that don't want to be around that truth, and that's okay. They get to choose that. And there will be certain people that gravitate towards that truth, and it will be incredible. But until you decide, I'm Shelly, and I'm worthy of my space. I'm worthy of my jokes. I think these things are funny, and I think these are not funny, and I'm okay with that. And I've got these opinions, and I'm willing to be wrong. Until you can start to root yourself in the ground there, you're just going to have what you're experiencing now. One person's going to say one thing, and it will spin you up for a year. It'll take up a year's worth of thought real estate in your mind. And it will mess with your biochemistry. It will make you live less long. Because it will poison you. Every time you talk to this person, your heart's going to start beating a little faster, and you can dump a little bit more cortisol and adrenaline in your bloodstream. It's going to slowly eat your insides.
But yeah, I mean, it's become kind of a lens of like, oh man, I want to draw a boundary here, but I can't because they'll interpret it as me being arrogant.
And you can't control other people. All you can control is your thoughts and your actions. And you can draw really firm boundaries with kindness. And you can draw really firm boundaries with joy. People who don't have strong internal sense of who they are, they often overcompensate their boundaries. They wait till it builds and builds and builds, and they kind of explode on people. And then people go, whoa, instead of the slow, regular, gentle making a boundary. Hey, can you do this? Yeah, I can do that. Can you do this? Yeah, I can do that. Can you do this? No, I need a weekend. Whoa, chill out. Versus, hey, can you do this? I'm out this weekend, but I would love to get to it next Monday. I'd love to. That's a boundary making, one small boundary at a time. And all of that comes back to, do you think you're even worth your own boundaries? Do you think you're worth saying no? Do you think you're worth saying yes? Do you think you're a person of kindness? Sit down with somebody that you trust and say, let's look at these behaviors. How do I interact? I want people, when they interact with me, I want them to come away feeling joyful. I want them to come away feeling like I'm a little bit happy after talking to that person. That's what I want. So let's work on those actions. And your heart may never change here because your heart's probably good. But your heart has to be plugged into you. And you got to be okay with you. And you're not. And that's where I want you to start. Writing down on a piece of paper, what do I want? And let's backfill it. How do we get there?